My beloved child, take a slow breath and let this moment settle in your heart. You are not here by accident. Something in you was drawn to these words because deep inside, you already sense that changes are happening around you, especially in your relationships. There are people drifting away, conversations growing quieter, connections that once felt natural now feeling heavy or forced. This is not a punishment, and it is not abandonment. This is God working quietly, deliberately, and lovingly in your life. Right now, God is separating you from certain people not because they are evil and not because you are superior, but because the season you are entering cannot support the weight of who they were in your past. Some people were assigned to your life for survival seasons, not for destiny seasons. They helped you cope, endure, learn, and grow at a certain stage, but they are not meant to walk with you where God is taking you next. Holding on to them would only delay your obedience, cloud your discernment, and weaken your faith. God sees what you cannot see. You see the memories, the laughter, the shared history. God sees the future impact. He sees how certain voices influence your decisions, how certain relationships drain your peace, how some bonds subtly pull you away from the purpose He planted inside you. Even when those people have good intentions, they may still be misaligned with the calling over your life. God separates not to hurt you, but to protect what He is building within you. This separation may feel confusing because it's quiet. There was no dramatic argument, no clear betrayal, no obvious reason. Things just began to shift. Messages stopped coming. Invitations faded. You felt less understood. This is often how God works. He doesn't always remove people through chaos. Sometimes He simply allows distance to grow so your heart can loosen its grip without breaking completely. He knows how deeply you love. He knows sudden loss would crush you. So He gently creates space. You might be questioning yourself, wondering if you did something wrong. You didn't. Growth makes some people uncomfortable, especially those who benefited from you staying the same. When God begins elevating your mindset, strengthening your boundaries, and sharpening your vision, not everyone will know how to relate to you anymore. Some people preferred you when you were unsure, available at all times, and easy to influence. Your healing changed the dynamic, and that's not something you need to apologize for. God is also separating you because there are conversations you're not supposed to hear anymore. Certain advice that once felt familiar would now only confuse you. Certain opinions would weaken your confidence. Certain energies would interfere with your prayer life. God knows that to hear Him clearly, you must be removed from noise that sounds comforting but is spiritually distracting. Silence can be holy when it brings you closer to Him. This season may feel lonely, but loneliness is not the same as isolation. God often pulls you aside before He sends you out. Before He expands your reach, He deepens your roots. Before He introduces new people, He removes familiar ones so you don't lean on them instead of Him. Right now, He wants your attention, not divided loyalty. He wants to show you that your strength does not come from human approval, but from divine alignment. Some of the people God is separating you from were never meant to understand your next level. They only knew the old you. They only related to your past struggles, not your future authority. If they stayed, They would constantly remind you of who you used to be, even as God is calling you into who you are becoming. That tension would keep you small. God refuses to let that happen. It hurts because love was real. Connection was genuine. But purpose must come before comfort. God will never sacrifice your calling just to preserve a relationship that has already fulfilled its assignment. What feels like loss now will later reveal itself as mercy. One day you will look back and realize that if those people had stayed, you would have settled. You would have compromised. You would have delayed obedience out of familiarity. God is also teaching you how to let go without bitterness. Not every ending requires anger. Some endings require gratitude and release. You can honor what was without dragging it into what will be. God is maturing your heart, teaching you how to bless people even as you walk away. This emotional growth is necessary for the doors He is about to open. As the separation happens, pay attention to your peace. Notice how your mind feels quieter. Notice how your prayers feel more honest. Notice how your intuition sharpens. This is not emptiness, this is space being prepared. God cannot pour something new into a container that is already full. He is emptying you gently so He can fill you deeply. New people are coming, but they cannot arrive until the old seats are vacant. Relationships aligned with your future require room. God is intentional about timing. He will not introduce destiny connections while you are still emotionally tethered to past ones. This separation is not the end of companionship, it is the preparation for healthier, God-aligned relationships that will support your growth instead of competing with it. There may be moments when you feel the urge to reach back out, to fix things, to keep the connection alive out of nostalgia or fear. Pause in those moments. Ask God if you are reaching from love or from attachment. Love trusts God with distance. Attachment fears losing control. God is teaching you to trust Him even when your heart feels uncomfortable. You are not being rejected. You are being redirected. God is narrowing your circle so your vision can expand. He is reducing distractions so you can recognize opportunities. He is separating you from what feels good to lead you toward what is right. This process is sacred, even when it feels painful. If God is separating you from them, it is because there is something ahead that requires your full focus, your full faith, and your full obedience. He is not taking away without preparing to give. He is not removing without planning to restore. Trust the separation. Trust the silence. Trust the uncomfortable growth. Stay close to God in this season. Talk to Him honestly. Cry if you need to. Rest when you feel tired. Let Him be the companion you lean on most. When the time is right, He will send the right people, those who recognize your calling, respect your boundaries, and walk beside you without slowing you down. You are not losing people. You are shedding weight. And you are becoming lighter so you can rise. Let your heart stay open as you continue reading, because what you are experiencing now is deeper than a simple change in relationships. When God separates you from certain people, He is also separating you from old patterns, old reactions, and old versions of yourself. People are often connected to habits, mindsets, and emotional loops. When those people step away, those patterns lose their power too. This is how God brings lasting transformation, not just external change. You may notice that situations which once triggered you no longer have the same grip. Conversations that once pulled you into drama now feel exhausting instead of exciting. This is not because you've become cold or distant, but because your spirit is maturing. God is refining your emotional responses so that you react less from wounds and more from wisdom. Separation is part of this refinement. God is also teaching you discernment. In the past, you may have ignored certain red flags because you loved deeply or feared being alone. Now, your eyes are opening. You see intentions more clearly. You notice inconsistencies you once excused. This clarity is a gift. God is protecting you from repeating cycles that would have cost you time, peace, and confidence. There are also people God separates you from because they were never meant to see the full version of who you are becoming. Not everyone gets access to your next chapter. Some people only had permission for a paragraph, not the whole story. And that doesn't make them bad, it simply means their role has ended. God is the author of your life, and He decides who remains on the page. This season can feel unsettling because familiarity brought comfort. Even unhealthy familiarity can feel safe when it's known. But God is pulling you out of what is known into what is purposeful. Faith grows in unfamiliar territory. Trust is built when you walk without seeing the whole path. God is strengthening your reliance on Him, not on people. You may be tempted to romanticize the past, remembering only the good and forgetting the strain, the confusion, the imbalance. Be gentle with yourself, but be honest too. God often allows distance so you can see clearly without emotional fog. From a healed perspective, you begin to understand why the separation was necessary. God is also healing you from overgiving. Some relationships thrived because you were always available, always forgiving, always understanding, even when it cost you deeply. God never asked you to abandon yourself for the sake of connection. In this season, He is restoring balance, teaching you that love does not require self-erasure. Healthy relationships do not drain your identity. As the circle gets smaller, your inner strength grows. You begin to hear your own thoughts more clearly. Your prayers become more intentional. You start asking God different questions, not just for relief, but for direction. This is the shift from survival faith to surrendered faith. God is guiding you into a deeper, more authentic walk with Him. There may be grief in this process, and that grief is valid. Even necessary endings deserve mourning. God is not asking you to pretend it doesn't hurt. He invites you to bring that pain to Him. When you release it in His presence, He transforms sorrow into wisdom. What once wounded you will one day guide you. God is also separating you because where you are going requires stronger boundaries. You cannot carry everyone with you into the next season. Some would misunderstand your discipline as pride. Others would resist your growth because it highlights their stagnation. God loves them too much to force them into a season they're not ready for, and He loves you too much to let you be held back. If you're feeling misunderstood right now, know that it's part of the process. Jesus Himself was misunderstood as He walked in purpose. Obedience doesn't always bring applause. Sometimes it brings solitude. But in that solitude, God speaks with clarity and power. Trust that God knows what He's doing, even when your heart aches. He is not stripping your life, He is shaping it. Every separation has intention. Every goodbye makes space for a new hello, one that aligns with your calling, your values, and your future. Stay present in this season. Don't rush to replace what God has removed. Let Him complete His work. The peace that comes after obedience is worth every uncomfortable moment you're walking through now. And remember, God never separates you from someone without drawing you closer to Him. Stay with these words a little longer, because what God is doing now is not just around you, it is within you. Separation is often the final step before clarity. When the noise fades, when familiar voices quiet down, your soul begins to recognize truth without distortion. This is where God rebuilds you gently, layer by layer. You may start noticing that you are less reactive and more reflective. Where you once felt the need to explain yourself, you now feel comfortable being silent. This silence is not weakness. It is strength formed through trust. God is teaching you that not every misunderstanding needs correction and not every opinion deserves your energy. Peace is becoming more valuable to you than validation, and that is a sign of spiritual growth. God is also preparing you for responsibility. The next season of your life may involve influence, leadership, or a deeper impact on others. With that comes weight. Not everyone can handle that weight with you. Some would turn it into pressure, others into control. God separates you now so your foundation is strong before He allows expansion. You might feel like you are in between chapters, no longer who you were but not yet fully living what's next. This in-between space can feel uncomfortable, like standing still while everything shifts. But God does His deepest work here. He reshapes your identity without distractions. He aligns your desires with His will. What feels like waiting is actually becoming. God is also healing old attachments. Some connections felt necessary because they filled wounds, not because they were meant to last. God is gently closing those emotional dependencies, teaching you that He is enough. When He becomes your source, people become additions, not lifelines. This change will protect you from future disappointment. Notice how your standards are changing. You no longer feel drawn to chaos, inconsistency, or half-hearted effort. You crave depth, honesty, and mutual respect. This is not you becoming difficult, this is you becoming aligned. God is tuning your heart to recognize what belongs and what does not. Sometimes you may feel lonely even in God's presence, and that can confuse you. But loneliness in this season is often the echo of old voices leaving your inner world. God is making room for new understanding. Sit with Him there. Let Him fill that space. He is closer than you think. God is also teaching you restraint. Not every truth needs to be spoken immediately. Not every feeling needs to be acted upon. Discernment grows when you learn to wait. This patience will serve you well in relationships, decisions, and moments where impulsive reactions once ruled. You are being taught wisdom. As people fall away, you may feel exposed, like your life is suddenly visible and unguarded. But what feels like vulnerability is actually freedom. You are no longer performing for approval or bending to fit expectations. God is calling you to stand as you are, rooted and real. Trust that God remembers every tear, every silent prayer, every moment you chose faith over fear. This separation is not erasing your past, it is redeeming it. The lessons you learned will not be wasted. They will become the language through which you help others one day. Do not rush this season. Do not numb it or distract yourself from it. Let it teach you. Let it soften you without breaking you. God is near, even when He feels quiet. His silence is not absence, it is intention. Very soon, you will recognize why this had to happen. What feels heavy now will feel light later. What feels confusing now will feel obvious in hindsight. God is faithful, and He finishes what He starts. Stay open. Stay obedient. Stay close. Let these final words settle gently into your spirit, because what God is completing in this season will soon make sense in ways you cannot yet fully explain. When the separation is complete, you will notice a quiet strength rising within you. Not loud, not rushed, but steady. This is the kind of strength that comes from alignment, not effort. From trust, not control. You will begin to see that God was not emptying your life, He was reorganizing it. What once felt like loss will reveal itself as order. Your days will feel lighter. Your decisions clearer. Your heart less conflicted. This peace is the evidence that the separation was necessary. God is teaching you to walk forward without constantly looking back. Memory no longer holds you hostage. Gratitude replaces regret. You honor what was, without wishing it could still be. This is healing. And healing always creates space for joy to return. Do not be surprised when people from your past try to re-enter your life as you rise. Some will be curious. Some will miss the access they once had. Others will sense the change and want to benefit from it. This is where discernment matters. God did not separate you just to bring you back into old patterns. Protect what He rebuilt. You will also notice that your prayers sound different now. They carry authority. They carry trust. You ask with confidence, not desperation. You move with faith, not fear. This is maturity. God uses separated seasons to create grounded believers, not fragile ones. New connections will come, often unexpectedly. They will feel familiar without being demanding. Supportive without being controlling. These relationships will not compete with your purpose, they will confirm it. You will recognize them not by intensity, but by peace. If you ever question whether the separation was worth it, look at who you are becoming. Look at your clarity. Look at your courage. Look at your intimacy with God. What you gained is far greater than what you released. Remember this always: God removes people to reveal purpose, not to punish hearts. He closes hands so He can place something better within them. He allows endings so beginnings can breathe. Stand firm in what God has done. Do not shrink to fit spaces He already led you out of. You are not alone. You are guided. You are protected. And you are exactly where you need to be. Trust the separation. Honor the process. Walk forward with faith. God is with you, and what's ahead is worth every step it took to get here.